This is Talk is Sheep, a podcast by the Wild Sheep Society of British Columbia. Come along as we take conversations that matter to you into the high alpine.
Steven.
Once or twice in the last, holy shit, 46 years now. Yeah, more than once or twice.
Episode 100.
Yeah. Who would have thought this would have happened 2 years ago when we rolled this out, give or take, somewhere in there. But wow, what an episode.
What an episode. Like you said, we've been talking about this a long time. What are we doing for 100? What are you doing for 100? And you're like, let's get the Shockey family on. I'm like, yeah, right. And that said, Jim's been on the cast before. Branlin's been on the cast before. Very generous with their time. Great supporter of the society. One campfire. We can't thank the Shockey, Jim and Branlin specifically for what they've done to date. And then for this all to come together is phenomenal.
Oh yeah, like you touched on, read about episode 50 when we realized this was going somewhere. It was okay, who can we get on for 100? And I said, as you said, let's do the Shockeys. And we didn't think it would work. And holy crap, we managed to get all four for a real brief time.
Well, they're incredibly busy. Jim with all his stuff. Louise is busy. Of course, we don't need to say with Eva and Branlin, they've got their brands. They're so busy doing different things. And, we reached out to Jim and said, what do you think, Jim? And he's like, yeah, but he goes, I don't think it'll work. That's what he said. He goes, I'm happy to do it, but he goes, I'm not going to try and quarterback Branlin and Eva. They're super busy in their own personal lives. And he goes, if you can put it together, I'm there. But, and I thought, oh, okay, here we go. And so, a testament to the Shockey family, you'll hear me talk about on the podcast. They've done so much for our hunt space, just not around the community and the messaging and, the sort of getting people on board for the acceptance of hunting, but, just their donations and their generosity. You look at the personal support they lend to different hunting, things that are important to them. Jim, SCI, obviously a huge supporter, but he's been a huge supporter of the Wild Sheep Society of BC. 2020, he was our keynote speaker. He agreed to come up and he was going to volunteer his time to spend with us. And then of course, the show got shut down, unfortunately, but incredible support from the Shockey family. And man, what a great podcast. It was so much fun to hear them laughing and bantering back and forth. And yeah, great.
And being a family, right? Yes. There was no act put on, just the barbs that were thrown back and forth. And I absolutely loved the special guest that kind of poked her head around and waved, and Eva and I both went, what? And then she came up and we got 15, 20 seconds of Nana Weezy, which I think just set it off. It couldn't have been any better.
Yeah, absolutely. So you guys are going to enjoy this one. To our listeners, thank you. Thank you for the support. When we started out with Talk is Sheep, we didn't really have much of a vision. We knew we wanted to bring our membership more content, more information, share our messaging around what we do as a conservation organization, the different initiatives we support, like One Campfire. And that's all we had in mind. And due to the support from our listeners and from you, this is really, we can't thank you enough. If you weren't listening, we couldn't be here doing our thing. So thank you.
Yeah. Best thing you can do is hit that subscribe button, that follow button, and keep sharing. And we can keep putting out episodes that you want to hear. So yeah, good times, buddy.
We'll have to start planning for 200 now. So
awesome. Man.
Thank you, everyone. So with that, enjoy this podcast. It's episode 100. We've got Jim, Louise, Eva, and Branlin Shockey on Talk is Sheep. Enjoy.
Across Canada and throughout the world, if you come across a campfire in the woods, on a mountaintop, or next to a river, you'll find warm company and friendly people gathered around. Regardless of your lifestyle or place you call home, We invite you to learn more about what it means to be a hunter in the modern era. If you love the outdoors, care about where your food comes from, and are concerned for the future of wildlife and the environments that they need to survive, pull up a seat. We have a story to tell. Welcome to our campfire.
How come maybe your background looks like you're living inside a hard-boiled egg there?
It's the only way that you can't hear kids if I'm in this little tiny closet.
Yeah. This is, you can see why Evie likes to live like minimalist after living right here. That was her bedroom right over there. So she
It gives me so much anxiety looking at all the stuff.
Kind of looks like the new house. Hey, Eva.
Yeah. Whenever he comes to my house, my dad's like, "What are you gonna do with all these walls?" I'm like, "Nothing. They're just walls." Like, it's nice to actually see the wall after. So
you walk in there and you say, hello, 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 hello. Echoey. Oh my gosh.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for coming on the show. I know you guys are really on a limited time, as the Shockey family tends to be. So,
I was going to tell you that too. I have an hour. Eva is the one that has half an hour. I'm the one that has.
I have about 45 minutes, but.
Okay, fantastic. We'll make the best of it. But when you need to drop off, just drop off, and we'll keep chatting. And then when you guys get sick of us and we run out of Shockeys, then we'll end the podcast. So anyway, awesome. Well, hey, let's kick things off, Jim, with you. And you look back, and we've talked on the podcast before about your humble beginnings in Saskatoon in the trailer park, and you've created this legacy. As a young man, did you ever envision that, you'd be where you are today, and you've got this amazing family and what they're doing in the outdoor space and the hunt world? Can you talk a little bit about your legacy?
Well, I mean, I'm probably not the best one to ask about that, but yeah, I mean, I'm a fairly organized, focused person. So yeah, I envisioned this a long time ago. I envisioned having two boys, not a girl and a boy, but that was out of my hands, unfortunately. But everything else, pretty. I mean, I don't know. I don't live in the past. That's why it's hard for me to talk about legacy. I live for, like, right now, decision making for the future. So, and I've always done that right from when I was 10 years of age, when I envisioned the museum. So yeah, I worked at that, and I worked 20 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year for that to be right here, right now, in this place. So I mean, yeah, it wasn't. I don't know. Maybe it was luck. Maybe it was serendipity. But I think what I say to people is, if you drive a car for half a century in one direction and don't take any side roads, you end up somewhere. And this is where I've ended up. And people that started with the same goal, same ideas, same dreams, they took side roads. And I'm kind of the last one left standing in this bunch. So yeah, it was a pretty orchestrated. The decisions I made along the way were to make sure that Louise and I ended up right where we are right now.
Well, congratulations. You've done a darn good job in it. So now, we talked to Branlin, we talked to you about your journey and your path and where it's taken you. And Eva too, you got started a little bit late in the outdoor world. You had, you kind of showed up at 20 with force. So, maybe let's talk about, your upbringing, Branlin and Eva. Either one of you can jump into this on how you were raised in this space, and then how your journey led you, and now you're headed down that sort of same path and in your own different channels as well. So let's kick that off with the two of you about how you kind of got on this path, and if you envisioned yourself maybe as a young person going a different direction.
Go ahead.
I 100% envisioned myself not going this direction. Like, you could have paid me $5 million, and could pay anyone that knew me $5 million, and no one would have ever directed me where I am right now, which is kind of what I pride myself on, because I like just mixing things up and keeping people guessing. But my mom, I don't know if you know the background of my mom. She was like a vegetarian ballerina, model, dancer, actress, and then obviously, my dad. And so I grew up this combination of the two. And I really am a pretty good mix of the two. So I just happened to grow up in my younger years doing more of like the dancing and that kind of stuff than the outdoor stuff, and like the actual hunting. I mean, our family did a lot of outdoor activities, but when I went to university, it was the first time that I had to buy meat for myself. And I remember standing at the meat counter and had never bought steak because we only ever had wild game. And so I thought that was so weird and also very expensive. And I thought it was weird that you just buy an animal, you don't know where it came from. And so I graduated and ended up coming back to my dad after he had asked me my whole life, basically. And I asked him if he would take me hunting. And at the time, I kind of did it because I was about to sort of decide what I wanted to do for my career after college when I had a business marketing degree. And I thought I loved the outdoor industry, but I wasn't a hunter. So I didn't really know how I could fit into that industry. I thought I would do more of like the marketing side of stuff. And when I started hunting with him, I quickly realized why he loved it, and the adventure and the challenge and the fresh air. And then obviously the wild game, hopefully at the end. And so I started at 2021, traveling a ton with my dad, and then eventually doing a little of his show without him and with some other people from our team. And it was just amazing and fun. And you can see why people fall in love with it. And it was really nice to have a chance. I don't know that I did it intentionally or he really did intentionally either for me, that there was just sort of a role that I filled that people wanted to see of someone that didn't know what they were doing, like a female that didn't know what they were doing, but also trying it. And I still am like that. I'm like, I ask a million questions. Half the time I'm not quite sure what's going on, but I'm out there and I'm enjoying it. And ultimately, I think that was the message that a lot of people were waiting for. So that just took me to where I am now.
Can I
Yes.
bug you here? Like
Yes.
her role, suddenly within about 6 months, she was co-host on Jim Shockey's Hunting Adventures. It's like, how did that?
There was actually wasn't it a poster, or I used to do events, and one of them, my title was Eva Shockey, and it said outdoor expert underneath it. And I was like 23. And my dad's like, what?
Yeah, I'm definitely one of those people that would have bet the $5 million that Eva was not going into the hunting industry back in those days.
Yep.
Branlin, let's jump into it with you, sort of your journey. And you're firmly entrenched in the outdoor space now, but I know you looked at different options and different thoughts. So how did you get to where you are today on that regard?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think I talked about this in the podcast we did a little bit, but yeah, it's so hard not to, take for granted my upbringing, because, even at a very young age, Dad was taking me out fishing, and I had my little pellet gun that I'd go and walk around in our land and hunt all the time. And so, yeah, just like Eva, at the very young age, I was really like, part of a hunting family, and I didn't even really think twice about it. And that goes for, eating wild game all the time. I particularly remember us eating fish like all the time in the winter. And I guess, and now, me having kids now and knowing what we eat and going to the store and stuff, I realize that's a little bit, strange. Not many people have like a freezer full of fish we can just go and, grab anytime we want and go out on a boat, anytime we want and bring back, fresh wild meat. So I definitely took that for granted a little bit growing up. And then around, university-ish, late high school, I kind of, started looking at different options. This is about the same time that Eva was starting to come sort of back into the fray a little bit. I was, thinking I was going to go, I don't know, do something in finance, be an entrepreneur, do something in business. And, but then, talking with Dad, we started talking about that professionals series. And so I found that even if my sort of, my dream wasn't to be like, the ultimate hunter that travels around the world, that wasn't my main passion. I found, film to be a passion, storytelling to be a passion, that fit really nicely in with what, Dad's vision was at the time for that series. So that's kind of how I fell into that. And I found that, hey, I can go out, I can do the hunting thing, I can travel, I can have these amazing experiences with the camera in my hand instead.
Can I interfere here again? Dad's vision for the professionals. Branlin came to me and said, I can make your show way better. You've never
Which he did.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I didn't do that with Eva's. So I think, are they still our lowest rated TV episodes? One's the Evas? Isn't that what?
Yeah, even Outdoor Family. I think it was. Yeah, I don't think anyone's ever been lower than that. But, hey, that's okay.
They offered a second season, but they said we had to find a new production crew, and I was like, no, I'm loyal to my family.
Yeah, I think we're still paying them royalties not to air that show.
So on that vein, let's talk a little bit, you mentioned the Ultimate Hunter, Branlin, and, we've seen an evolution. Like, Jim, you watch your early stuff and it's evolved with time. You've created your craft and evolved with time. And, one thing about, we look at the early evolution of TV, and we've talked to Jim and Branlin about this before, about, the whack 'em, stack 'em stuff that, used to be on TV, and the evolution of what's out there now. And you look at your brand, Eva, it's, I guess steeped in the, outdoor space, but, connection to family, and it's much bigger. It's much beyond, the outdoor space. So can you guys talk a little bit about that evolution, about your messaging and how that works? And, I know each of you guys have your individual brands, even though it's, it has a main theme, but maybe talk a little bit about that evolution, Jim, and how, how it's changed over the years for you and in the work that you do.
Sure. Well, I mean, I can certainly speak to the dinosaur age and then let the kids take it from there. But, at the beginning, there was no video, there was no TV shows, but the cable networks were coming on stream, hundreds of them, and they needed content. And nobody really knew how to tell the hunting story in those days. So there was no professionals. There was no one had experience in it. So with basically 17 minutes of a 30-minute television show, the guys focused on what hunters understand, which is the final stalk, the final, the kill. And we didn't, there was no one had gone to film school in those days. So it was always, camera on a tripod, there's the animal, cut back to a studio somewhere like this and say, I knew if I walked over this hill, there would be a buck. And then they'd cut back to the field and there's the buck. Like, the storytelling was, it was nascent. It was just starting. We didn't understand it. Now, I was fortunate because I came in from the writing side of things. I was an author. I was a writer.
There's Nana.
It's what?
There's Nana. Hi, Nana.
Nana was down.
Oh, we do get Louise on. Awesome.
Nana.
Nana.
This is our vision. Thank you, Louise.
Oh, my
Awesome.
pleasure. Thank you for keeping these guys entertained and
This is
on their toes.
part of our universe. This is, we all revolve around Nana Weezy. So,
Yeah, it's true.
aw.
This is awesome.
I just wanted to say hello, guys.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Louise.
Have fun and see you later.
Okay.
Hi, Tsitsi. Hi, Bran.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, guys.
Oh, yeah.
Amazing.
Hi,
Love you,
Nana.
Nana. Love you, Nana.
Thank you, Louise.
Love you the most, Nana.
What's that, sweetheart?
I think we could just end the show right there.
I love you the most, I said.
That's okay. Nana loves me the most. That's what counts. But, oh, that was so sweet.
That was awesome.
But yeah, I came from a writing background. So I was writing for magazines, published my first article in 1984. Kathleen Windsor, wherever you are, thank you for buying it. $42. I was so excited. Bowbender magazine out of Alberta. So I had a background. I mean, I probably had published 500 articles by then, a background of storytelling and not how-to. I hated how-to stuff. So I was more adventure. So it wasn't that big a deal for when we got a video camera to just start telling the same type of story with visuals instead of typing it out. So that was the start of it, where I think we moved the goalposts a little bit with our first hunting adventures, over the shoulder, raw footage, bring the hunter with us. Don't ever do cutaways back to a studio. I knew there'd be a big buck if I walked over the store, we did that at that time. And then, so like I say, that was the dinosaur era. And then along came Branlin and said, I can make your show better, which, by the way, when he said that, we just won best overall production for the world for the Outdoor Channel down the States. I had the big trophy. I walked everywhere, got a chain for around my neck so I could hold it there. And he walked up and said he could make our shows better. So from that point, over to Branlin, because that was his vision, the professionals, and where everything went from there.
Okay, I never walked up to you and said I can make your series better. I think I was, and if I did, I was lying to my teeth.
This is how I took it anyway, because I was kind of proud of my show, and I was like, really, kid?
I think you asked me, why don't you watch my hunting show? And I think I said something like, because I don't think I said it's boring or anything like that, but I think I said I just had other preferences for how to spend my time. Yeah. Okay. So, and again, we talked about this, I think on the podcast I did, but the storytelling really is, and no matter what it is, it can be hunting, it can be lifestyle stuff, it can be actual movies. People, like, I think Joan Didion said this, we tell ourselves stories in order to live. Like, we really do. Everybody does. And and this really was serendipity. I didn't have a plan for this, but coming into the outdoor space, Dad's right. A lot of the hunting shows were like, hey, my name's Joe, welcome to the whitetail stand that we're hunting today. And, they do 17 minutes of stalking and kill shots. And that honestly just didn't interest me. And even beyond that, I don't know that I could have made a show that would have been, as good of a straight up hunting show as what was around then, because it just wasn't my interest. So I had to do, and I was kind of stuck with this. I had to make something that I thought I would want to watch, within the confines of the footage that we could get at the time. And so that's what I tried to do. And that was like Dad said, I was trying to tell stories that weren't just about the hunt. And also I saw Dad, and I still see this, I saw Dad as someone that wasn't just a straight up hunter. He's not, that was never how he talked. Anytime we would talk about hunting, it would always be about far more than just what the kill was. And that was never a big part of it. So I tried to, so my understanding of hunting really was what, I tried to translate onto screen, which was that it's about adventure, and it's about friendships, and it's about learning and exploring. And so in terms of what your original question was, which is brand, from professionals to Uncharted to any series we do, I always try and pay very close attention to the story we're telling and the people involved in the story. And are we showing those two things in the very best light that we can? Because ultimately you're taking hours and hours and hours of content, and you're distilling it down to an essential 17 minutes or 33 minutes, whatever it is. And you have to be careful, because you can, and actually this happened in the professionals. Sometimes you make mistakes on brand. And I think that, if you miscut something or edit something in a way that, is too harsh, people watching or listening, they can react to that because they don't have the full picture. And I think we did some episode in professionals, Dad, where, remember, you were talking with Matt Gibson. I think Matt Gibson was a cameraman, and you were kind of reprimanding him a little bit. And I think when we showed that episode, we got some negative feedback saying that you were too harsh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just so the world knows, brand, I am harsh. I'm focused on a goal, and in the heat of battle, figuratively speaking, there's times where I certainly wasn't, the perfect model for the brand, and brand would, he watched over that carefully. I mean, he was essentially, a shepherd on the whole thing. So that, that, and I'm not, like I said, I've never told anybody I'm perfect, but yeah, I remember that with Maddie, and it looked like I was beating up on him, and so and that's not what we actually do. And it's kind of out of context, because we're men and we're out there, we're doing our thing, and we all know, I mean, your comrades in arms, again, figuratively speaking. So Branlin was very sensitive about that, always has been, higher sensibilities that sometimes, for me, focused on this goal. You have to be harder. You just have to be harder. I mean, and Brand was very careful about that, how we presented it, and slowly but surely the messaging became more. I mean, he truly got to the essence of what I believe hunting is about, with the way he told the stories and the edits that he did, super important to distill it down to that essence of what we are, who we are as hunters, and what hunting is. I mean, it was, like I say, thank goodness for Bran, because I'm just a harder person. And you'll notice all through this that Evie really didn't have much of a say in any of this.
No.
The host of Hunting Adventures, the outdoor expert.
I know you're making fun of me, but I was about to also just pipe up and say, since I don't have a lot of skills, I rely very heavily on my personality, which has done just fine. Somehow created a career on that. But I mean, and it's interesting. Obviously, I grew up in the world they're talking about. I grew up kind of in, my dad had cameras on every family trip we pretty much ever went on, even way before I was a hunter. And I really didn't like it for quite a while, but then you got used to it. It was just part of our lives. And the storytelling aspect, which again, my dad started and then my brother obviously picked up and did a lot better with, that even has grown into what would now, I mean, I know it's nothing compared to what they do and what like the production companies do, but the social media world now is storytelling. It started out more just sharing posts about whatever high school event you were at, but now it's actually, I mean, they force you to do video, they force you to do reels, and I giggle to myself. I'm on my phone editing these reels, which I don't really like doing necessarily, and I'm thinking like, oh my gosh, my brother would be so embarrassed if he saw this. I'm like making transitions with like on the wrong moments. Like I don't have the skills, but it's about even my little short things that I have to create now. Like it's about telling some kind of story. And like you mentioned, it's more for me about the lifestyle of it, the family. I mean, I'm surrounded, that's where I'm at right now, is I have the 2 little kids. So that's just what my life actually is, but creating the storyline that other people can relate to, that you say, this is what we're doing. This is what we love doing. I believe it's a good thing where we love our family. We love the outdoors. We love XYZ, let's share about that. And it gets that story out to people. And that's why they come back and they want to watch more and they want to keep up with you. So it's a very small version of the TV production, but at the same time, arguably the direction stuff's going where we just need more skill. Like we need their skill doing what I'm doing. And I feel like we could make it all happen.
It's working for everybody. We've discussed before that the story's the biggest part of it. It's easy to take cool dramatic photos with a dead animal, but telling that story to get there and making somebody feel an emotion, that's the hook to me, and you guys nail it.
All of us, including Eva?
I just encompass.
Nice.
Yeah, so she's just kind of throwing in with Brandon. I get it.
I watch her Instagram.
Eva, let's talk a little bit about gender roles and about, so you came on very early as a woman in the outdoors. Now it's there's tons of influencers and tons of TV personalities, but at the time you were kind of setting a trend, and your dad just talked about envisioning 2 boys and talked about men in the field, and then you come on the scene, and can you talk a little bit about the gender roles and what that was like growing up and that's the thing, you look at Jim, you look at Branlin, you look at this hardened hunter and this grizzled outdoorsman with his cowboy hat and his beard, and then you come on the scene and it's a completely different feel. So can you talk about gender roles and do you feel that that's changed for women in the hunt space? Because we've seen now there's a lot of people entering that space, a lot of women. So chat on that a little bit for us.
Yeah, absolutely. So we growing up with, my dad and going to all the events and SHOT Show and SCI, Brian and I don't think there used to be an age limit on some of those shows, whereas they are like 16 now, I think. And we used to run around when we were 5, 6, 7 at SHOT Show at all the events. And that's just what we were used to. But I vividly recall in my younger years, I would go with our family, and me and my mom would kind of hang out with my brother, and my dad would be in the hunting meetings and everything. And I remember thinking there was basically no women at those shows, like basically, and if they were what we kind of call trophy wives, like the beautiful wives that like they're not there to hunt, they're there to whatever, just look at cool stuff, enjoy. But there were just not a lot of women that showed up for that type of thing. And when I started in the hunting industry, by no means was I the first that was doing that. I mean, Tiffany Lukoski and Vicky and Brenda and all kinds of women were already incredible, and they were very educated and knowledgeable about the hunting space. I was the opposite of that. I was coming in new to it, wanting to learn it. And so I think between their personalities and how they could teach women and be examples for women, and then with mine, who, you know, sort of different women that didn't really have a lot of experience in the world, it worked out quite well, where there was a lot of different personalities covered, a lot of there was like age gap covered, there was different skill set, whitetail, mule deer, whatever everyone hunted. And once we got into that, after a few years, social media started up a lot heavier. And I think that's when it really took a turn, because it was so accessible to everybody. So you didn't have to have cable, you didn't have to watch Outdoor Channel, you could go on to Facebook, which at the time was what really started in earlier than Instagram by quite a bit. And you could just go access our pages and see what we were doing that week and see what we were hunting. And you could message us. And back then, I just feel like it was a lot. There was so much more simple on social media. You could message and you'd talk right back, and it would just be like your friends. And that is where I saw it make a huge shift. And then people could share. They didn't have to have a hunting show as a female to share that they were hunters. And that at the time was kind of really the only way, other than word of mouth, to show that you were into the hunting space. And so a lot more women, I think, got the guts up to share it, to talk about it. And once one does, it was amazing. Even when I got into it, people from when I grew up were coming to me out of the woodwork saying, oh, we hunt too. And I knew them my whole life and no one talked about it. And it was just this thing. It was almost like a taboo where I'm from for women to hunt. And now I think it's very accepted. I think it was intimidating at the beginning because of the lack of female representatives in the hunting industry. But I will also say that going in as a female, I rarely felt like anyone didn't want me there or was judging me, and if they were, it was just because they thought I was coming in as Jim's daughter. And most often I loved being there. There was not a time I would not sit in camp and complain or whine or whatever. Like, I loved being in camp, and I really truly wanted to learn. And I think anyone that thought they were going to judge me a certain way, by the end of the trip, they would realize that I was just there because I enjoyed it. And their preconceived notions were generally wrong. Hopefully. I'm pretty sure most people, but yeah, it was a very welcoming industry. And that's what's been really fun about, as I'm 34 and I started at 20-ish, and so the amount of people that come up to me and they're like, we were 5 when we started following you, and now they're like a grown up. And it's making me feel very old, but also I remember my dad saying the same thing. And so I guess that's just, I'm like one of the older girls in the hunting industry now. But yeah, it's pretty cool how it's changed so much, and the women are so much more involved and really legitimate hunters, and cool being able to watch some of those experiences.
Yeah, you were only the second woman ever photographed for the cover of Field and Stream?
Yes, next to Queen Elizabeth.
Exactly.
I normally when I see your Instagram stuff, I just usually like swipe right by it. So do you still post like hunting style stuff nowadays?
Oh,
she's on Instagram? I didn't know that.
Oh yeah.
Funny that you guys should ask, because I'm actually I was shooting my bow this morning at 7. I'm going on a mule deer hunt on Friday, which my dad doesn't even know about. So yeah, I call it my coming out of retirement archery hunt.
Somebody could send her some pictures of a whitetail and a mule deer. So just in case, I don't know where you're hunting, but just in case.
Colorado. I'm going on this hunt, and people I'm going with, I called them, and I've been hunting a few times in the last year, but like I have a 3 and a 5-year-old. So it's just not been the years to go on hunts for the last little while. And I told my friend who I'm going hunting with, I said, I'm so excited about this, but just so you know, like, this is my coming out of retirement hunt. I have been mom zone for the last 5 years. Like, don't act like I'm going to be the girl that you knew 6 years ago that kind of knew what she was doing. Like, there might be some dumb things that happen, but I'm back to the original person that I started in the industry of, like, not really having any idea how to do anything.
I think it's a good thing Tim got an elk this year. Otherwise, you guys are going to be eating macaroni.
I know. He did. I know. He got a nice elk 2 days ago. First elk hunt with ever elk hunt, and first with a bow too, which is pretty cool.
That's awesome. So let's talk a little bit. You mentioned kids, Eva and Branlin. Let's talk a little bit about that next generation. And so, Jim, early on, you had involved your dad and your father-in-law, and now the kids are involved. Now there's this next generation, Branlin and Eva, your kids, Jim, your grandkids. Let's talk about that next generation. And we all know that your two kids, Eva, are very well entrenched in being on camera and being involved. What do you guys see for that next generation of Shockeys, and when can we expect the grandkids version of it? So
mine are right there. We have a tree stand in our backyard and deer feeders. My daughter just got her first actual bow. She's 5.5, and has a very strong personality. Not sure where that came from, but we decided that to teach her how to shoot a bow, the safety elements of it, I don't know that she would fully grasp it from us. Like, I don't know if she would understand how serious we are about, like, if you're going to shoot a bow, you need to take it seriously. So we have her in archery lessons that she's going to start, just to get those basics of, like, this is actually a weapon and you have to be careful. And so she starts shooting a bow, I think next week or the week after. And then she's already asked, she asked if she calls my dad Bubba, if Bubba will take her hunting. And what really irks me is that she thinks Tim, my husband, is like the hunter, because since I've had her, I've basically stayed at home and he's the one hunting. I'm like, no, like, let's just look back at these magazines. I'm going to start putting Field and Stream magazines out. Like, let's see who's on the cover of that. So yeah, my kids are getting there and they love it. But just my dad, as long as he doesn't get too old too fast, we kind of need him.
Yeah, which he is. But
It's a race. I admit it.
And similar on our end. So I've got a 3-year-old and 5-year-old too, and our son Flynn, he is always asking to go fishing. He's asking to go hunting. And so, even just this last weekend, he was landing, where do you catch a bluegill, like, landed it by himself, reeled it right in, cast the whole thing all by himself and all excited. And actually, I filmed the whole thing. He wants to start a little, he's always asked me about starting, like, putting it all on YouTube so he can show his friends and stuff. So, we've had, my family, we moved down recently to Kansas City, and, I grew up in BC on the ocean. So I wouldn't say that I'm the world's best turkey hunter or, like bass fisherman around here, but we definitely, have plans here to get the kids, doing more outdoor stuff, more hunting, more fishing. And so I think the future looks bright for both of them. And
their Aunt Eva just sent them both their first plastic suction cup bows last week. So.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, they've been practicing with that. They've just seeing how excited they were.
From their cousins in North Carolina.
Yeah. You know what the sad part is? She probably sent me one too.
Yeah.
My daughter turns 10 tomorrow, and the number one thing she wants is her hunting license. She doesn't want a trip to Disneyland. She's just, Dad, I want my hunting license. So that's in her birthday card for tomorrow. So she's been doing it since.
A lot more expensive than a trip to Disneyland in the long run.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely it is. She got a 22 for her 5th birthday, something like that. And yeah, she's excited for it, and so am I. It's been awesome.
That's really cool.
Cool. Yeah.
So Eva and Branlin, let's, if you don't mind, just talk a little bit about, you grew up under the umbrella of the world's most famous hunter, and kind of in, as young people in the shadow of Jim, but now you've gone on and created your own brands, your own content, and you guys have grown your own brand. Can you talk a little bit about what that was like growing up in that, and then how, the evolution of creating who you guys are?
Can I answer this instead of them, please?
I'd love to hear it, Jim.
I want to hear the truth.
Go ahead, Bran.
Again, as kids, I didn't realize really, until I got a little bit older, what a sort of, I guess, crazy, childhood I had, but crazy in like a good way, like a very blessed childhood. I mean, by the time that I graduated high school, I literally had traveled all over the world with Dad, because he had made sure, and Mom too, I'm sure, was a part of this, but he made sure that, he brought me on like several trips and like serious trips, to Africa and Australia and like, all over the place. And so, and I was, doing some hunting at that time too. So, I think I shot a Cape buffalo and, all kinds of stuff that people, literally dream hunts for people I'd done by the time I'd graduated high school and hardly knew anything about, life or what it takes to, attain, dreams like that for most people. So, I was very, blessed in a way and lucky. And it took me until university to, I don't know if Dad remembers, I stepped a little bit away from the family stuff in university. I think Eva did too. And, you gain some perspective on your life compared to other people that at that time. And so, yeah, it was and even to this day, I still, look back at and what we have now and what we had back then. And I say, honestly, I had a tremendous, step up in a lot of different things, like starting a TV series. A lot of people ask me, like, how do you get started? I've got all these big dreams. I was like, well, ideas and ability are part of that, but also like I had a big step up because, dad was dad. It was Jim Shockey. So when we say, hey, let's start a TV series, and then the channel says, oh, okay, who's doing it? Well, some kid is going to do it in his bedroom on his laptop. That doesn't really get them too excited. But when you say, oh, Jim Shockey's going to do it, then all of a sudden, there's your foot in the door. So it was, a tremendous benefit and help for me. But also at the same time, I think it takes a while to look back and really realize, what you had growing up.
Awesome. Eva?
Really trying to decide which direction to take this answer.
I can leave if you want to take.
No, I'll take it. I'll be nice about it. I agree. We didn't fully understand how different our lives were probably until we stepped away and realized like our upbringing was quite a bit different than most people's. But what I took away from it, which I still do to this day a lot. Well, first of all, my dad created this huge career in life because at the end of the day, he was doing exactly what made him happy and what he was passionate about. And he turned it into a career. And he only was able to do that, like you said, driving on the road one direction and focusing. Like you can be passionate about things, but if you're not going to focus and work really hard at them, you probably won't get to where you're going. And so that was something really interesting over the last decade or so of making decisions, was that absolutely my dad gave us a huge step up. He's helped a lot of people with a huge step up, honestly. So many people that have crossed paths with him have benefited from, whether it's his knowledge, whether it's the career that he's given them, whether it's connecting them with the right people. Like that's just what he does very often. But being able to, Brian and I both individually did this, was we are in the outdoor industry. And I think at the end of the day, you can't fake loving something for very long. You can pretend for a little bit and you can maybe do a little wiggle room here and there, but you really have to be passionate about it when you're spending that much time doing it, if you want to do a good job and if you want people to see you being like happy with what you're doing. So both of us took what we were given from my dad, which was incredible, and the knowledge and the outdoor industry, but then made it into something that was our own. And like my brother said, he didn't want to be this world famous hunter. I didn't want to be a world famous hunter or anything like that either. So it's not like we were trying to fill exactly what my dad was doing. It was just that outdoor industry is so incredible. And the people that are part of the outdoor industry, whether it's the hobby or whether they work in it, generally are just the most wonderful down to earth people. And so we got to be part of that, but then create our own passion and continuously follow those, I guess, lessons that my dad taught us. That, all I remember is how focused and how hard he was at what he did and how well he treated everyone. And when he was at events, that he gave everyone the time of the day, and he always showed up 110% for everything. So those kind of lessons is what then I take when I'm doing something, or when I'm doing, even if it doesn't seem as outdoorsy and big, it's still sharing that message with people and trying to promote essentially the same concept, the same basic elements and the same basic things that we believe so strongly in, like family and the outdoors and being healthy and wild game and all that. It's just, you have to create your own path and then just make sure that you're true every single day, that you're actually believing what you're doing and not trying to take someone else's path and copy it.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Can I just bring it back to Evie's original statement? I'll try and be nice about this. I think that's what she said. It implies that she could be not nice.
There were a few different directions, but sometimes I just don't want to be too mean. Although I was going to say earlier on another note that my dad is now at the age where his father and my other grandpa Len worked for him for free and we're just there helping. And my dad does not work. Brand, does dad work for you for free? He
No.
still thinks he's like the center of everything. Where I'm trying to tell him he's the old guy that now is supposed to come and just like be, you know, chopping wood and helping with stuff.
I'll work for free as long as you let me be boss of your empire.
Yeah, you know, that's not how it works.
Yeah, we need our kids would love if you would dress up as Santa Claus for this Christmas. Actually, you can show up. You don't even need to get a fake.
Don't need a fake belly or anything.
Yeah,
I'm
no belly.
really busy. I can't quite work for free for my own children yet.
But actually, no. But seriously, to add to what Eva said, in all seriousness, Dad's ability that he talked about, Eva mentioned, you know, to focus and to work hard at something. I mean, that's it. That's the, you know, like Eva and I both had a firsthand view of what it takes to become, you know, like you said, quote unquote, the most famous hunter in the world. And it's, and you know, that lesson is almost impossible to, you know, underemphasize. He focuses on something and he works hard and he accomplishes things that, you know, even me being his kid, Dad started this museum, you know, when did you start that museum? That was a few years ago, right?
We bought the building 2015, but I envisioned it when I was 10. So.
Right. And just so people know that this museum, which is now, you know, I would say doing very well and very successful, it's not like it's on some great location, you know, in Orlando, Florida or something. It's in, you know, a tiny little town on Vancouver Island, way off the highway. And if you would have asked me back when Dad started this, you know, is this a good idea? I honestly, I would have said no. Dad, I don't think this is going to work. You know, you don't have all the prerequisites to make this happen. It's not a good location. The buildings all run down. You know, it's going to take a tremendous amount of work to make this go. And you know, now, and I talked with my wife about this often. I'm like, you know, Dad's ability to just take whatever problem there is, it doesn't matter what it is, and just have a single-minded, you know, focus on solving this problem and working hard on it day after day after day after day consistently is, you know, in terms of the one biggest lesson, you know, I take from growing up with a guy like Dad. I mean, that's probably it. You can accomplish anything if you put your mind to it. And it sounds cliche to say, but it's true.
The flip side, the downside is that, you know, I often forget Brandon's name and Sheila's name. It's just, you know, my own kids. So this is the other problem. I forget about. You're so focused. You have to. Thank goodness for Nana Weezy to remind me. No, it's Branlin and Eva. So I mean, there's downsides to that focus too.
Awesome. Let's just chat a little bit about, you know, is there any vision for a Shockey Dynasty show, or you guys got anything in the works where we're going to bring all you guys together, the kids together? Is there anything coming down the road? I know Shock Therapy is the latest on Jim's platform, but anything else coming down collectively that we can expect from you guys?
I'm auditioning for the role of Hal in the new Hal and Len series. With the kids producing.
You actually already have the part for that. You don't need to audition for that. I don't think we've actually considered ever really spending that much time together again.
Yeah, it's because we can't afford Evie's what she would charge.
And day rates
here on the show anymore.
Yeah, awesome. So, you know, I guess on that vein, with the grandkids, you know, they're growing up in this space and stuff like that. You know, Jim, I guess you bought that place down in South Carolina. I guess the vision is, you know, in a COVID-free, pandemic-free environment, that you have the opportunity to spend more time with the grandkids and spend, you know, your latter years with family. Is that the vision?
Yeah, I mean, it's North Carolina, Pinehurst, actually.
Right. Sorry.
And I don't know if it's so much grandkids as golf, but Nana Weezy has a saying, man plans and God laughs. So yes, that was the original plan, was to be down south so we could, it's easier for Bren and Ash to get there with their boys, or us to get there, back and forth. But again, man plans and God laughs. So it hasn't exactly worked out that way. I mean, we're dealing with, health issues, not beyond the COVID issues that we had for a couple, 3 years. So, the reality is, every single day is precious, no matter where you are, and your plan, it doesn't mean you can't appreciate every single day and every minute you have with your loved ones. So we're working through that, sorting out the new reality, and hopefully, we'll be able to spend more time with our grandchildren.
Awesome.
And children.
And
yeah,
you have children? When did that happen?
And Branlin, and even Eva, with with the Louise's health and everything, you guys are spending a lot more time up here on the island too than you historically have, I guess, as well. Hey.
Yeah, I was there for like half of last year. I haven't been there in years, for more than a week or two here and there. But for a little while, we thought she might have been just tricking us, but I don't think she is.
Get the family together.
Yeah.
And also, I would say even if we're spending more time, but also more quality time. Where, like Dad said, you appreciate it forces you appreciate every minute, every hour, every day, every week, whereas before you take time like that for granted with the family.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And on that note too, even Branlin, you guys grew up in Canada, obviously spent, formative years on the island. Anything drawing you back other than family? I live in Victoria, but you guys all have a life down south there now. Do you guys miss the island? Is this or is it just all about family when you're coming back?
Oh, I still have the house there. Yeah, they still are like have their feet in two different places. We miss it. We miss the obviously family and friends. Just the view. I still picture that view off basically where Bren's house is, like off of the island when you're looking out at the ocean and then the mountains behind. And on those like 3 days a year when the weather's nice there, picturing that view, that's what I miss. But yeah, I don't think we'll end up making it. Like my family probably won't ever move back, but we do love it. We love coming to visit.
Yeah, and my family's we've still got plans to come back. We love it. I think Vancouver Island is one of the best places to live. There is. Yeah, maybe the weather's not all that great all the time, but yeah, it's I miss the ocean. The mountains. In fact, I always get lost down here in Missouri because there's no mountains. As a reference point. So, I look around and, everybody else knows where east and west and south and north and all that stuff is. And I hardly even know where I am. Probably need to learn a little bit about looking at the sun and figuring out where where north is. But we miss the island.
Need you guys to come back because we're going to somebody has to look after the handyman, right? So when Jim's had enough of that, we need someone looking after it. I can imagine Eva at the front counter meeting people and walking people through the,
they probably wouldn't be very well educated when they left if I was doing them a tour.
You want to check all the cash registers at the end of the day too.
Yeah, that's the truth. Actually, we just on that note, they both just agreed to be on the board of directors of the foundation we're setting up, because we're actually donating the land, the building, the contents, and giving it a bunch of money so that our great grandchildren will be able to come and see the museum, and everybody else's great grandchildren will be able to see it as well, for donation only, walking in the door. So that's the kids might not move back here, maybe Bran will, but they're certainly going to still have 1 foot over here on the island going into the future, because they agreed for a tiny little stipend of $0 for the rest of their lives to watch. And also Branlin's on there to make sure Evie doesn't have her fingers in the till.
Okay, they're lying about this, just so you guys know.
What's that show with Gordon Gekko?
American Pickers?
No, what's that movie?
Junkyard Wars?
No, I gotta look it up. Gordon Gekko. What is it?
I mean,
Wall Street. Wall Street.
Oh, Wall Street. That's right. Yeah. That's right. There you go. The Wolf of Wall Street. That's the Wolf of Vancouver Island. Thank goodness lives in Raleigh because
Yeah, there's another reason to move to the island.
The Hand of Man Museum actually originally was started. It was supposed to be a family like Shockey museum, and the original concept was that we'd have all of our mounts that all of us had hunted, and it would be all like mixed in, and then go try to find a mount that was hunted from anyone other than my dad. I dare you. Mine are stuffed in
Eva's moose are there. All her moose are there. All her white-tailed deer are there. It's just very difficult to find them among like Branlin's and my dad's and all my animals.
Yeah, so I actually just asked the other day on the call if at some point we can, I don't know what the word is, extradite all of my mounts.
Yeah, I think the word is
on the expense of Jim Shockey, all my mounts to Raleigh, and then we'll call it even.
I'll just send you a bill for the storage for the last 10 years.
So let's just touch a little bit on this legacy. So Hand of Man is a legacy piece. It's obviously going to be there for hopefully perpetuity, but obviously, Branlin and Eva, this is important to you guys. You're on the board of directors, as Jim mentioned. So, talk about that legacy and what it means to leave that for future generations, I guess, and the Shockey legacy, continuing that into the future.
I mean, I guess because I was at the point of the spear on creating this thing, when I pass away, I would like people to say that I made a positive difference on the perspective of what hunters and what hunting is about with the non-hunting public. And I think because it's the Hand of Man Museum of Natural History, Cultural Arts, and Conservation, the museum actually speaks to what hunting actually is all about, not just to kill. It's that's what we get vilified and marginalized in the popular press. That's all we care about. We're louts that spit on the floor, no higher sensibilities. The museum is 999 people out of 1,000 come through and love it, and we'll have over 25,000 visitors this year to the museum.
Wow! And
it truly is a hunting gathering, about that museum. And so it's, that's part of it, but it's not even the hunting. I think it's, it's telling the truth. The museum tells the truth. We're not handcuffed by political correctness. We don't have to be woke in our museum. It's a private museum. There's no government funding in there. And, I just would like to know that somewhere, someplace, somebody can see the truth about what we are right here on the screen, that what we are that are listening to this, watching this, and not just for a small little television show and then gone, but any single day of the year. It's open 365 days a year. You can come in and see the truth about what we are. It's been done such a disservice to us as hunters and naturalists. And this museum is meant to go into the future decades and hopefully sets an example, inspires other people to do the same thing in other communities. It's not that hard if you just do it and don't care about dying with a pot full of money in your hands or giving it to your kids. I mean, who would care about that? So I to me, I think it, from those according to their ability to those according to their need. That's Karl Marx, by the way. Don't tell anybody I quoted him, but we can, so we should, and we are. And that's what the museum is for us. It's meant to tell the truth.
Awesome. Any thoughts on that, Branlin or Eva?
Yeah, it's just nice knowing that, all those years and trips and money and time and energy that he spent on, his career and the experiences that he got to have that arguably no one else in the world will ever have, because so many of those things have been shut down now and will probably continue to be so. It's nice that was for more than just his purpose, our purpose, the TV show's purpose. It'll be for way after all of us are gone and the TV show doesn't matter, and all those experiences, people will get to continue to see them that no one would ever have a chance to do it. It really is incredible when you think of the big picture of how much he's done, and that, you know, you can't just go repeat it. No one can. And so that you can go to the museum and at least get the next best thing to it. And it's cool because in combination with the museum and his TV show, he's joined them together. So you go and there's video footage that's incredible video footage. It's not like boring museum footage. It's really entertaining production value footage that you can watch while you're looking at the museum items. And it's all this intertwined, like, incredible experiences with the people. I'm with Bran that I can't say that I thought it was going to be super successful, but when he tells me the numbers of people that go in there a day, I am just in absolute, shock. But at the same time, in hindsight, you know, if my dad's going to head something up, you know, it's going to work out, even if it seems insane at the time.
Yeah. And we're in you know, I think Dad said it really elegantly. He talks about higher sensibilities, and that really is who Dad is. You know, you go through, if you show up at Dad's doorstep and think you're walking into his office and you're going to see a bunch of hunting stuff, you can see in the background that's not what it is. That's part of it. We look at his bookshelf, and, you know, he'll have Tolstoy and Ayn Rand and Karl Marx sitting on his bookshelf. You know, there's far more than just a hunter there. And for the museum, you know, nowadays it's funny we've got so much recorded content now, right? You know, you can turn on the TV and at any given time, you're going to see whoever, actors, whatever, you know, people that have passed away long ago, and they look like they're, you know, full color, just like you could have, you know, you'd see anybody nowadays. And, you know, people, unfortunately, it's true for all of us, we eventually move on. But ideas can stay forever, or they can stay for a long period of time. And that's where you guys are talking about legacy. But, you know, what Dad's saying, you know, telling the truth and showing, you know, these quote unquote ideas to people, that can live on, you know, for generations. And like Dad said, it's true. My kids talk all the time about, you know, how much they love the museum. And I'm sure, hopefully, if this works out and this idea, you know, lasts, you know, their kids and their kids and their kids, these ideas like this, they can, you know, last into, you know, as far as we can sort of make them last, like a legacy.
That's awesome, Branlin. And I think on that note, I know Jim and Eva, you guys both have appointments now you got to run to, and Branlin as well. So, you know, I just want to say from our outdoor space, our hunting community, that the Shockey family walks the walk and talks the talk. And, you know, Dave Judson from the Ladysmith Sportsman Club, has said to me time and time again how much the Shockey's family has done for Ladysmith, for conservation, for hunting. And I just can't say enough about all you continue to do day in and day out. So thank you for creating what you've created. Thank you for the legacy of the Shockey family. And thank you for joining us on Talk is Sheep today. We really appreciate it.
Oh, it's an honor.
Thanks for having us.
Thank
we
you.
appreciate it too. This is the first time we've ever done a podcast with all three of us, and four if you count Nana.
All four. We wanted Nana Weezy so bad.
First time in history.
Steve and I are like, oh my goodness, this hit the jackpot. So thank you all so much.
Oh,
Awesome.
Keep
Thank
doing
you.
it, guys.